Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. This is not going to be like any of my regular Dungeons & Dragons or tabletop role-playing games content, but it is related to D&D and the RPG world, and specifically related to a problem with D&D Beyond. Now, this isn't a problem with the actual product or software of D&D Beyond. In fact, I'm a big proponent of them, but rather a problem that they have as a company with educating their consumer base, or more simply, it's a perception problem, and it all has to do with their initial agreement with Wizards of the Coast. And to give you an idea of what I'm talking about these comments about paying for Dungeons & Dragons books twice for those who have Dead Tree copies and who want to see Wizards of the Coast offer some sort of discount on D&D Beyond or a code for D&D Beyond if you buy or have bought a paper copy. So this video is about that problem, but it's also about much more than that. This video is really a life lesson for many of you who are unfamiliar with how the distribution chain works. And this distribution chain is literally how everything, every product, tangible and intangible, from cell phones to role-playing games to life insurance to a bag of apples you might buy at a grocery store. So I hope you forgive me for going a little Matt Colville here with such an abstract video today, but this is something that I'm very passionate about, and I think for some of you, at least I hope, you'll have the same aha moment that I had when I first learned this stuff. But first, a little wardrobe change. For a little context here on my background, I come from the world of sales. At 18, I was a music education major in college while I sold $160 pairs of Nikes at a sporting goods store. I was pretty okay at it, and eventually money ran out, so I took a job across the street at a Chevrolet dealership. By 19, I was an internet sales manager, pricing my own deals for Corvettes, and then I bounced around from sales job to sales job selling phones, Fios internet, flooring, more cars, and on. And until June of this year, I was in business-to-business sales for the last 7 years. So from 23 to 30, I was a $1 million sales rep working as a manufacturer and distributor. And as far as what I sold, my customers were companies like Staples, Waffle House, Haverty's, Enterprise, Orange Leaf, and Mattress Giant before they went out of business, and on. And I imported and distributed all kinds of products, from containers and containers of moving blankets to those little guest checkbooks that Waffle House waitresses would come and take your order on. I know, small world. But it gave me an experience that would be hard to replicate if I had just finished my degree. Because of that, it became my job to teach any new hire the sales process and this lesson here on distribution. Okay, so first I'm going to throw 4 different terms up on the board. Those terms are manufacturer, end user, distributor, and factory. These 4 terms make up the manufacturing chain and can be applied to literally 99.9% of all products known to man, including RPG books. At first glance, there are 2 words that might stick out to you as being the same thing: manufacturer and factory. But the reality is that these are usually totally different companies, but they don't have to be. Confused yet? I'll explain. Let's start with manufacturer, which is in essence the person that has the product made. And to give you a better idea, let's take 2 massively global brands, Nike and Coca-Cola. Yes, I'm using Nike in this example because, try as I might, I haven't been able to get Under Armour to sponsor the channel yet, in hopes that I might be able to call Stephen Curry, Jordan Spieth, and that dirty cheater Brady all colleagues. Both Nike and Coca-Cola are manufacturers. They decide to make a product, they decide how much to make, when to make it, and so on. But only one of these companies is also a factory, which is the place where the product is made. And that, of course, is Coca-Cola. Nike is a manufacturer, but they are not the factory. Nike doesn't actually put together their sneakers. They don't sew and stitch their hoodies. They simply have the product made at a factory, usually in Asia somewhere. And this process is called private labeling. Now, before I go any further, just a little disclaimer that anytime I'm using a company in this entire video as an example, a lot of guesswork is being made, and I don't actually know the exact details of a company's inner working, so please don't sue me, Nike. You've seen thousands of products privately labeled, and you probably don't realize it, with the most commonplace being the grocery store. Market Pantry from Target is their food manufacturing side of the company, but they don't actually grow or can green beans. They don't actually make their brand of cereal. They order them from a factory. Sometimes, more often than you may realize, the exact same factory that name brand companies work with. On the other hand, Coke is both a manufacturer and the factory. Coke doesn't outsource its formula to some factory for them to make Coke for Coke. They are the manufacturer because they decide how much to make, when to make it, what the final products and ingredients are, etc. And they are the physical factory that formulates and produces the final product. For the RPG world, you can think of Wizards of the Coast, Paizo, Ulysses North America, and other publishers as the manufacturer in our example, and the printing house, the place that actually prints the books, as the factory. Now, sliding back over to our comparison of Nike and Coke, while Coke is both a manufacturer and factory, Nike is both a manufacturer and distributor, which brings us to our next two terms. A distributor is anyone who sells or distributes their product to an end user, the person who physically uses the product. Although there also exist distributors who sell to other distributors. An example of that would be Diamond in the comic book world. Diamond is not a manufacturer. That would be DC Comics or Marvel Comics, and they don't sell to the public, but rather to local comic shops who in turn are distributors who sell to end users, aka the people who read the comic books. But unlike Coca-Cola, you can actually buy Nike products from Nike themselves. And yes, I know Coke's website has some specialty gift shop-like items that they offer, but you can't just go to Coke.com and order a liter of cola. Whereas with Nike, you can go online and order anything they make. They will sell to you, the end user, as a distributor of their own product. But Nike also distributes through traditional distributors like Foot Locker and Walmart. And now we're starting to get into the really interesting parts of the manufacturing chain as we look at the special relationship a manufacturer has with their distributors, especially when you are talking about a manufacturer that distributes their own product, the fine line that they have to walk with their distributors, and how this all correlates to the RPG world. Starting with Nike, we have the manufacturer in our chain. Let's say Nike wants to produce some $160 Air Max 360s, so they place their order with the factory, Fingte Group in Taiwan, and Fingte charges Nike $25 a pair FOB destination, aka with shipping, for a container. Now, Nike sells the product to Foot Locker pallets at a time for $90 a pair. Foot Locker, in turn, puts their markup on it and sells it to our end user Bob for $160 a pair. Everyone in the chain makes their money. But as we mentioned earlier, Bob has a choice. He can instead go straight to Nike.com and order his Air Max 360s directly from the manufacturer. So since Nike has a significantly lower cost, Bob should be able to go online and order his shoes cheaper than what Foot Locker can offer, right? Well, not so much. When Bob tries to go around Foot Locker, he finds the Air Max Nike 360s on sale for $160 at Nike.com. In fact, considering that Foot Locker has a sale on their Air Max for $140, it's actually cheaper to get them there than instead of going straight to Nike, even though they obviously have a better cost. The reason? The special relationship between manufacturer and distributor. If Foot Locker found Nike selling their sneakers for $110 a pair to Foot Locker's customers, Foot Locker would simply stop carrying Nikes and fill their walls with Adidas, instead of competing on an uneven playing field against Nike as the manufacturer. And to speak candidly, manufacturers care significantly more about their distributors to risk harming their relationship with them just to pick up a bigger margin selling to the occasional end user. Bob is going to buy one pair of $160 shoes. Foot Locker is going to buy 2.5 million pairs between women's, children's, and men's in just 1 year. Now, before we shift all of this to role-playing games, we need to understand one more relationship in the chain with a fifth term. One that is key to understanding D&D Beyond's big perception issue, the master distributor. A master distributor is simply any distributor that has a special relationship with the manufacturer. Sounds kind of vague, right? Well, that's because it is. A master distributor is typically a company that has negotiated beyond, pun fully intended, the standard agreement that manufacturers offer their distributor, usually in a mutual exchange of benefits to both parties. But most often they receive two things from the manufacturer: the best pricing, and when and if an end user approaches the manufacturer looking to buy their product, the manufacturer will direct the customer straight to the master distributor before directing them to any other distributor. But in exchange, the manufacturer will almost always have additional requirements for the master distributor. And again, these deals can be negotiated in any form the two parties might dream up. So let's say Guitar Center approaches Gibson Guitars wanting to become their master distributor by getting better pricing than their competitors selling Gibsons, and also to have Guitar Center's website be the very first link on Gibson's where to buy section of their website. Now, Gibson might negotiate back with them and say, okay, we'll give you better pricing and the top link spot, but in exchange, you need to have the first 35% of your walls in your store be filled with Gibson guitars. You have to buy X quantity more than your competitor, and we want you to train your employees to take customers to our guitar first, and we're going to secret shop you to verify that you're doing that. That is pretty much exactly how a master distributor agreement is made, with one more caveat relevant to our Wizards of the Coast distributors, D&D Beyond, Fantasy Grounds, and dead tree shops like Amazon and local gaming stores: the M.A.P, as it's commonly called, the minimum advertised price. Gibson may very well give Guitar Center the absolute best pricing, but they will also include a M.A.P that limits just how cheap Guitar Center can sell their guitars for. This protects Gibson's other distributors from competing against Guitar Center at a disadvantage and just pulling all their Gibsons from their walls and replacing them with Fenders, and it protects Gibson's product market so end users don't start associating the Gibson name with cheap pricing and thus low quality. And now we have the full picture to work from for the RPG market. Going back to our full distributor chain, we have Wizards of the Coast as the publisher, or in our case, the manufacturer, the printing house as the factory, Fantasy Grounds, Miniature Market, Amazon, and of course, your friendly local gaming stores, all as distributors, and with D&D Beyond now as the master distributor, and of course, all of us as the end users. So now when we ask, why can't Wizards of the Coast offer us D&D Beyond codes in our books? It's because D&D Beyond is not Wizards of the Coast. They are Curse, a completely separate company that simply distributes for Wizards of the Coast. They are no different than Fantasy Grounds or Barnes & Noble. But therein lies the problem. It all has to do with that little red ampersand. Curse has found that little red ampersand to be both a blessing and, well, a curse. Because whomever negotiated the original master distributor agreement, one, is a great salesman, and two, never considered the confusion it would cast in their initial launch and marketing. Having a distributor actually take on your name under a new DBA is a massive commitment to them and your relationship. I mean, there is no confusion with Fantasy Grounds. People get it. It's Fantasy Grounds, not Wizards of the Coast. But with the way D&D Beyond was pitched in its original announcement was that it was Wizards of the Coast. And with the access Todd Kendrick gets to Perkins, Merles, Crawford, etc., not to mention Todd's videos on Ravnica and Eberron going up the day of their announcement, it's pretty easy for people buying books to feel like they are all one and the same, and that Wizards is in fact double dipping for people who already own paper copies. But this isn't the case. And it's also the reason I don't think we'll ever see books with D&D Beyond codes in them, at least in 5th edition, because there isn't enough pie to go around. In order for Wizards to do this, they would have to charge more money for their books. Because now, instead of selling Dead Trees to just a friendly local gaming store at, I don't know, $37 FOB Dest, for them to mark up to $50 so they can make barely enough money to warrant the profitability per square foot in their store, Wizards would instead have to charge the store an extra $10 to $15 just to include a code so Curse, aka D&D Beyond, can make their money since they are no longer selling that book to the end user. And that's not to mention that D&D Beyond is only one of Wizards' online distributors. How would Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 feel if suddenly beyond just the logo, name association, and extra access, Wizards is now bundling their core product with their digital competitor, D&D Beyond? I mean, I'm not saying that they would pull their product lines, but it would hurt them enough to maybe start focusing on more indie or Paizo games in their shops, and Wizards isn't in the business of putting their largest distributors out of business. Already, Wizards has been subtly trying to protect their friendly local gaming stores by forcing online retailers like Amazon to push their launch back 8 to 10 days after the stores can start selling, and with the intent of giving local distributors options to offer special collector edition covers since Volo's released. And to keep things even on the digital side as well as to create a fair and balanced playing field, Wizards of the Coast has included a stringent M.A.P on all their products that was held firmly in place at full MSRP until D&D Beyond began negotiating with them to become their master distributor. There is a reason Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 books used to cost full MSRP of $50, and when Beyond showed up, both they and Fantasy Grounds, Beyond that is, suddenly started offering their books at half the price. It's because D&D Beyond got Wizards to lower their minimum advertised price for their digital products. So Fantasy Grounds lowered their pricing to the cheapest that Wizards would actually let them sell at, as well as Beyond, while Roll20 decided to keep their premiums to maintain their margins. As a side note, all of this becomes incredibly more complex if we start including Paizo into the conversation, because Paizo, unlike Wizards, is a manufacturer and distributor. You can't buy Dungeon of the Mad Mage from Wizards of the Coast, but you can buy the Alien Archive for Starfinder from Paizo. And in fact, if you buy the paper copy, you also get a digital copy added to your account for forever. So it actually does make more sense to buy direct from Paizo than from a local gaming store. This is something to consider when browsing a local gaming store shelves and trying to compare how much room each store owner is dedicating to Paizo versus Wizards or even another non-RPG product. And so I hope you guys found this video informative. It was definitely different, and I promise we'll be back to regular Dungeons & Dragons content next week. But this was a video that I really just wanted to make. This information has served me well in many facets of my personal life when making buying decisions, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. This chain of factory, manufacturer, distributor, and end user is literally applicable in some iteration or another in almost every single product category you can think of, from hiring a contractor to build a home, to shopping for car insurance, to evaluating the best place to pick up the newest phone. And especially this evaluation process is becoming more and more important as more products are going digital, like comic books that we talked about earlier, and direct downloaded games, books, and movies, etc. Ultimately, it's up to you to make the best decision for which of these distributors you want to tie yourself to, as cheapest doesn't always mean best in a world filled with more and more DRM content. So if you're looking for advice on where to pick up your books and who you should actually commit to, I'd recommend Fantasy Grounds if you play online and need a virtual tabletop. I'd recommend D&D Beyond if you play in person, or Miniature Market if you prefer the analog over digital, or if you are looking for a special release cover cheaper than what your local gaming store has marked it up for whenever a new book comes out. Full disclaimer, by the way, D&D Beyond has never been a sponsor for me, ever, but both Fantasy Grounds and Miniature Market have, so take that as you will. So what I want to know is what you guys think of this new digital world we're living in and how it affects role-playing games. Will Wizards ever release D&D Beyond codes in their core books? Do you prefer analog books over reading on a tablet or a laptop? And do you love D&D Beyond like me, or do you hate it for some reason? Let us know in the comments down below. I, of course, want to give a huge shout out to all of the amazing kick-ass patrons over at WelcomeAdventures.com who have supported this channel for so long. If you guys like this content, you want to support more content like this and grab some rewards for yourself, like 2 maps a month or a meeting with me, or I'm even looking at adding a second patron game because I got a few people asking for that. So tons of rewards over at WelcomeAdventures.com. And by the way, it supports the channel, so, you know, appreciate it. I'm just saying. If this is your first time here and you love role-playing games as much as I do, I'd love to have you subscribe. Every week I put out new videos on GM tips, player tips, tutorials, and more weird content like this. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, just hit the subscribe button down below and come join us. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Cody, and may your games be filled with awesome memories and even better friends. I'll catch you guys next time. Oh my God, I'm hot. I'm so hot.
Yeah.